Hi, guys. We are here with Jon Andersen, and I'm going to let him tell us about everything. Tell us your story. I know it's so fascinating.
Well, looking at me now, what you wouldn't guess is that I was a fat little boy with a whopping learning disability. I was, I met a very loving mother. I'm a mama's boy to the core. But all of a sudden you find yourself one day in a meeting with your teacher and your mom, and they're telling you that you have to go to a different classroom. And you're thinking, oh, a different classroom. Okay, this is great. And then you get to that classroom and realize these are kids that are not cutting it. And so you quickly realize that, okay, now you're kind of different. And at that age, all you want to do is follow. You just want to fit in. The last thing you want to do is not be like everybody else. Well, if I was in today's standards, I would have had OCD, ADD. I mean, I got a whopping case of learning dyslexia. Even right now as an adult, when I read, I can see the word was, and it'll flip. I'll see the words will flip right in front of my eyes.
Okay, so
even as an adult, dyslexia, yeah. So like stuff just flips around in front of me. If I have something really important to read, I'll read it, but I'll bring it to my wife and have her read it to me just to make sure that I'm not missing something. Because when I can read, but my comprehension is not there. But this was just part of the disability. So as I got put in this class with, not the normal, the outside the general population, it was to the other kids, it was known to be the retard room, so I got picked. Oh yeah, I got picked on a ton. Well, because I got picked on. Well, it was different in those days. You couldn't even say that word now.
Yeah,
you get expelled, So anyway, because, I'm having trouble, I was getting picked on, and I was using food to, comfort myself. So it was kind of a downward spiral. Someone would, on the bus, on the bus ride to school, somebody spits in my face, and, it didn't happen a ton, but it happened enough. And I was picked on enough. I ran straight to maple bars and chocolate milk. That was my fix. So I was slow, and it was a porky little sucker. So, I guess for the most part, I was kind of a pathetic little dude. That's just where it started. But this was the biggest blessing of my life, though. That's the thing. What people don't understand, people want to say, oh, because of this, now I'm this way, and then this way is a bad thing. The challenges we have are your blessings. People just don't get it. I thank God every day that I had the start that I did, because I had to learn to work twice as hard as everybody else. And I developed a massive set of problem-solving skills, because I couldn't keep up with the kids the way they were teaching. So I had to figure out a different way, which was my way. And these skills served me unbelievably in the rest of my life. So here I am. I finally get myself back into the normal classes. It's now I'm in high school. And, keep in mind, I'm just barely getting by. Right. But I'm still a fat kid, still getting picked on. And my mom was smart enough to realize this kid does not need TV. So we had no TV in the house, right? Which was very smart, because that would not have helped me. So when I did see TV, it was just way exciting. And I was at a buddy's house, and I saw the movie Conan the Barbarian, which was Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I saw Arnold for the first time, this big, strong dude. And something inside me just twisted. I didn't know, I had no idea what it was. And at that moment, I kind of knew that I was going to be a big, strong guy. I couldn't tell you anything other than that.
Wow,
but
so
it was
Arnold inspired you.
Oh, like unbelievably. Yeah. And later in life, I actually got to do some work with him. I worked in one of his charity events. So it was pretty cool. Talk about full circle. But anyway. So I see this, and something changes inside me, and I'm still looking for the answers in the bottom of the cookie jar. I'm a fat little boy still, but I'm working hard, and I'm trying to figure this whole thing out. And this is about the time when, in those days when you played football, you had to lift. Your PE class was going to be weightlifting, and they did that so you keep the kids from getting hurt. So I started lifting weights, and I quickly realized that I was better at lifting the weights than the sports I was lifting the weights for, which was kind of interesting. And, so I just kept doing what I was doing. You're looking at that point, I'm looking to be good at anything, so It was a struggle, that's just the way life was. But a lot of kids struggle. It's not just me. That's part of my story, is that there's so many people that can relate to this. And so, beginning of junior year, we basically, what they did, the football coaches had us max, which is to see how much we could lift so they could help us understand the percentages of our program. And I ended up being one of two kids that squatted 405, which was, it was pretty big, especially back then. And that really kind of changed things for me, because all of a sudden I was the kid that was like really overlooked and got pushed around. And, I was getting stacked in the lockers and putting garbage cans and shit like that. And keep in mind, I'm running for my maple bars and chocolate milk, which is just making my situation worse. All of a sudden, it's like I was the kid that was kind of getting pushed around the halls. All of a sudden now, because I squatted this weight, I was one of two kids as a junior that did it. All of a sudden now I'm walking down the halls and people are kind of semi getting out of my way. I was like, whoa, something's really changed here. And for the first time in my life, I was like, I'm good at something. And that's when I just went all in. Well, you see, I already had I've been working twice as hard as everybody else for a long time. So that was normal to me. And I had this, like I said, I'd already developed these problem solving skills, like figuring a way to do shit not the way everybody else was. So I was actually becoming really efficient at figuring out how to get things done. And that's kind of where the whole thing started for me. At that point, I just dove into my weightlifting, and, I ended up finishing high school. And now I've started to develop a little confidence, and I go into college, right? Now, keep in mind, I didn't really have any interest in going to college because school was really tough for me.
Yeah.
But I did have interest in not getting a job because I wanted to continue to lift weights. and so basically, my mom said, look, and I didn't have the test scores to get into a normal state school college. So my mom put me in a small private Catholic school where as long as you paid the whopping tuition, they were going to let you in. And that's what happened. So, but keep in mind, I show up to college, with about an 8th grade reading level. I was still way behind.
Okay.
Well, now this is a good display of how my problem solving skills would serve me. So I go to the bookstores. I'm scared. I'm like, oh my God, how am I know I've got myself in some pretty deep water here, So I go to the bookstore and I get books. I go back to my dorm room, and true to form, knowing me, I was really tough with the reading. I picked up the one that was the thinnest one, and I opened this thing up and I'm like, there's no pictures in this one. But see, that tells you the books I've been reading or trying to read, So I basically tried to read the first chapter of this book. I spent hours, and I remember reading it a couple of times, because when I did read, I had to read things more than once. That was just part of the way I learned, repetition. And I thought, you know what? I don't have any idea what I've been reading. And I spent a lot of time doing this. I'm not going to make it through college at this rate. So I basically, this is where I had to kind of really put my thinking cap on. This is a perfect example of how I figured out how to get through school with me problem solving. So I went to the teachers, the professors, right? And they were all, as Catholics, they're all fathers. So, and they were always happy to help. They wanted to help. That was nice, So, hey, Father, what percentage of the final is in the book? What percentage of the final is in the lecture? And some of them would say 80% is in the lecture. I'm good. I don't need to get the information out of that book, because I'll go to class, I'll pay attention, I'll take good notes. I can get enough that 80% I can pass this class. But then some of them have said, there's about 40% of the information in the book. Well, now I know I have to find somebody to help me get the information out of that book. So I would find someone in that class or find a study group, someone I could talk to about the book so I could retain enough information that I could put that with the lectures and pass the final.
At least you didn't cheat a lot of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like you are literally at that point, you're having to figure out, it's like when if you're drowning, you figure out a way to keep your head above the water. And that's what was me. And so anyway, so I ended up, I remember I came home after that first semester and I got straight C's. And I might have got,
too bad.
For me, they might have been A's. And my mom was the same thing too. She was so proud of me. Because I don't think anybody, I think it was a big question, was I going to be able to cut it in there? You know, anyway, so that's a perfect example of how my work ethic and my problem solving skills had started to serve me. I wasn't even an adult yet. And this is all because, you know, I had that learning disability, and I had to overcome these challenges and develop skill sets to deal with it. And that's the message of my whole story. I mean, we're just getting started here. You know, there's so many people out there who think that because they have these challenges, that that's what's holding them back. But in actual, those challenges, those are the things that are going to develop your superpowers.
True.
And if people would look at it this way, their lives would be very different. So I finished college. I have a degree now in theology and philosophy. I'm actually one credit shy of the philosophy, but I claim it.
Hey, enough.
And I wasn't like I picked that. It was the fact that I was just taking classes that seemed to have some bit of interest to me. And so, you know, it was like third year, you know, my counselor at the time, he was like, you know, you have to choose a major. Mm-hmm. I said, well, what am I closest to? And he goes, I'll call you tomorrow. So he calls me back and he goes, well, if we do this right, you're going to get a major in theology and you should get a minor in philosophy. I said, done. There we go. Because remember, I didn't show up to school with this idea of getting a degree to go get a job. I showed up with the idea of lifting weights so I could be the big, strong guy. I had no idea how I was going to monetize this, but I just knew what I was supposed to do. Anyway, so college is over. And I still have no interest in getting a job. I have no interest in doing things like everybody else because I haven't been doing it my whole life. I've been told I can't. I've been told I'm not good enough, all that shit. Yeah. But it's just rolling off my back. It doesn't matter to me. I've heard that enough. So I come out of college and I start a business, you know, right out of the gate. Because I know if I go get a job, I'm not going to have the time I need to keep chasing my dream of being this big, strong guy. So my first idea for a business was actually really, really good. It was just 2 decades too soon. It was meal prep. I had the containers, the whole thing, because I was solving my problem because it was a major problem for me.
Anymore.
I was like, well, this is perfect. You know, because really what it comes down to, you solve a problem for yourself. If you're solving it for other people too, the odds are you got a business on your hands.
True.
And so the problem was 20 years ago, actually it was about 20 years, 30 years ago. Wow. Holy shit, I'm 53. Yeah, so it was 3 decades ago. But if it had been a decade or two later, it would have caught, you know, because now the public was ready for that. But ultimately, I was actually, it was we had, the chicken and rice and all that stuff in the little containers, just like you see now. And I was taking it to gyms, like the little kind of hole-in-the-wall gyms where there were people like myself who had a need for that, but it just didn't catch into the general public. So that business failed, but that's entrepreneurship. You know, you fail. You realize that your failure is a part of the equation. And so, anyway, but I just looking back, I thought, man, it was actually a really good idea. It was just too early, you know.
Maybe the wrong place too.
Yeah, you never know why business does. I mean, sometimes a business, you can't believe what it actually takes off, and other times the thing just falls on its face. You know, it's just entrepreneurship. But either way, so now I'm hungry. I don't have any money. I got a little car that has no second gear, and the little bit of money I have is for gas, and I'm trying to figure out what business I'm going to start next because I'm not going to get a job. And so I think, well, I'm going to go with the surefire, the sure thing, because in college, I actually made money in summers painting homes. I went door to door. I just knock on the door. Then this is a perfect example. Other kids are going to get a job. I didn't get a job. I started going door to door. Hey, I'll paint your house for $1,500. Pretty much any one-story house I knew I could paint for $1,500, $200 in paint. Get a buddy of mine to help me, give him $300. About a week, I'd make $1,000, which is pretty good. Like 1980. Well, but I wasn't afraid of work. I was working twice as hard as everybody else. Working hard was not a fear for me, you know. But as 1989 for a college kid, making $1,000 a week was pretty good. So anyway, I knew that I had that formula. So I was like, well, I'm in California now. The painting season is 3 times as long because up in Oregon there was a lot of rain. I'm going to start a painting company because I'm hungry and I need to start to have some success here. So started this thing completely illegal, no insurance, no license, just took the same thing, because I was a kid, I didn't have any of that. I just started going door to door. Well, I used the same guerrilla marketing skills, but I hired people to do the work, right? Well, fast forward 5 years, I got 25 employees.
What?
And the thing is, we're producing over $1 million. No, I sell this thing. Well, when I basically, the last thing I wanted to be was in the painting business. This was just a means to an end. I thought, I'm going to build this thing and I'm going to have it run itself, or I'm going to sell it. So as I built it up and I had all these employees, I quickly realized they're managing that many people. This thing was never going to run itself efficiently. So I was like, that's not going to be an option here. So I ended up selling it. So now I'm in my mid to late 20s. I sell this thing, got $500,000 in my pocket. And remember, I'm just a fat little boy with a learning disability.
Still fat? You were still fat?
No, I'm just,
okay.
No, at this point, I'm actually, I'm actually a big, strong dude for real.
So.
I should have included that, yeah. But in my mind, I don't really see what I am, because, on the outside, I still haven't caught up on the inside. So, anyway, so I basically, at this time, the reason I was doing what I was doing with creating businesses is because I wanted to keep training. I wanted to chase my dreams. So now I'm this big, strong dude. I've sold this business. I got this wad of dough in my pocket. And right about this time, it's like the universe kind of putting things together for me. Now, all of a sudden, I start to compete in strongman, and I become a pro strongman and become internationally recognized really quickly. Go to my first contest, win. Go to a pro qualifier, win. Go to a pro nationals, qualify for nationals. Go to nationals and earn myself to you could call it like the B team for international travel. So now all of a sudden, dreams are coming true, man. It's like I'm living the dream, literally. So I started, I got this capital, so I started a real estate company. So I started buying homes and flipping homes, and I got all the connections from when I had my painting company. So, and I'm like literally going to the courthouse steps to buy these things. It's like buying foreclosures. Yeah, 100%. And most people, that doesn't work. You can't do that. These are the people that they're afraid to take that first step. I mean, one of my gifts that I developed was I was not afraid to take the first step. Failure was something I pursued, because I understood in the pursuit of failure, I was going to find my success. And so, anyway, they're all of a sudden now, boom, here's another big, business victory, so to speak. This company's doing great. I'm traveling the world. And, again, this is all because these skills that I developed from, being behind as a youngster. So this career is about 7 years. And this is an amazing part of my life. I ended up having a back surgery, so I had to stop competing in strongman. And right about that same time, the real estate market kind of dried up anyway. So that opportunity finished. And it was almost like this phase of my life kind of came to a close. Well, then I went from there. I went to become a pro wrestler. So, of course, I'm hearing the same thing. Just like when I went to go compete in strongman, you can't do that. You'll never be able to do that. Okay, I've been hearing this my whole life. You might be right, but I'm going to try anyway, right? Yeah. So same thing.
More like, I'll go for it.
Yeah. So the same thing with wrestling. So I basically, this is what I'm going to do. And people are like, you can't do that. You're 34 years old. Okay. Well, I basically go to a school to learn how to do it, because it's a dance. It's all predetermined.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And then I go and start doing, you have to kind of start over. You got to do all these little shitty, like high school gym matches, because you got to start at the bottom. And basically my wife is filming these things so that we can send the tape over to big companies in Japan, which is where I wanted to wrestle. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, I get a shot. They see this big dude. I don't know if they, I had an agent at the time. He fully fraudulated a resume that said that I knew how to wrestle, which I didn't. So, but again, this stuff. This is what I do. I just when people say it can't be done, it's because they have they've got a limited mindset. They've got limiting beliefs. So anyway, I get over to Japan. And I probably have only wrestled maybe 7 or 8 matches. So I know almost nothing about this. My 8th match was 8th match was a pay-per-view in Sapporo, Japan. Like thousands and thousands of people. And I barely know what I'm doing. But keep in mind, I'm this big, strong dude, right? And I think, you know what? If I can flex and I can scream and I can get the people out of their seats, that's what I'm here for. And so, you know, true to form, I start problem solving. Okay, these guys I'm wrestling with have been doing this for 10 years. I've been doing it for 6 months. I got to figure out how to you know, do the dance in a way where, you know, I'm going to keep my contract. And that's exactly what I did. So I ended up staying over there for kind of going back and forth. It's like a fireman schedule. You know, you're gone for 2-3 weeks, home for a week or two. And so I did that for another 7 years. I actually wrestled in North Korea.
North Korea.
Yeah, not South, North Korea. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
That was pretty crazy. So it was there was me and a guy named Bob Sapp. He was actually a big MMA fighter that turned pro wrestler. And he and I were the two Americans. It was called Wrestling for Peace. And there was people, wrestlers from all over the world, but obviously as Americans, you know, we're.
They had the guts to go to North Korea.
Well, and again, I mean, of course, when they asked if I wanted to do it, my first question is, how do you going to ensure my safety? And they had a plan to put together, and they were doing Associated Press releases every day on what we were doing, so we couldn't just disappear one day. But you know, again, you know, there's a certain level of me taking the first step into these, you know, things that are scare most people that's comfortable to me, you know, and even just to get there, you know, goodness, I mean, just to have the opportunity, you know, it's all part of, you know, who I became because of my rough start. You know, without me being a pathetic little guy, none of this happens. I'm not sitting in this chair, you know, I'm not telling the story. I haven't, you know, I haven't created multiple 7-figure businesses. I haven't had multiple athletics careers. It's all because of that. So wrestling, another amazing part of my life, you know, it was, I mean, I can't even explain the walking out in front of 40, 50,000 people in the Tokyo Dome was just oh man, totally different experience, you know. And keep in mind, I make the joke all the time. At this point, you know, of course, I'm not the fat little boy inside, but he still lives in me. He never really goes away. But I make the joke, well, because we're all really a piece of who we once were, who we were it comes with us, you know. We're like the sum of all parts of us, you know. And so I would always just tell them in the back, you know, I'm getting ready to walk out, you know, in front of 40, 50,000 people. And you're just a fat little boy that learned to work hard and solve some problems. Go have some fun, you know.
That's nice.
So wrestling, another amazing part of my life. 42 years old now. You know, at some point they don't reinvest in older athletes, and that's exactly what happened. So I come home and I think, well, I guess now I'm a pro bodybuilder. You know, I mean, I've had tons of success. I've had a lot of business success. I've had two athletic careers that, you know, as a little guy, you know, had God said, if you could be a pro strongman, if you cut off your pinky, I'd have gone boom, you know, cut it off. And then if he said, okay, now you can be a pro wrestler, cut off the next one, bam, I'd cut off. I only have a couple of fingers left, you know. But what I'm getting at is that any of one of these things would have been like a dream. But now I'm stacking these things up along with business success. And now, keep in mind, at this point now, I've got this wonderful family. You know, my lovely wife's over here. We have 3 beautiful daughters. We have a grandson now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so all of this is in development as all of this is happening. So it's not just me doing one thing. I mean, that's one of the things I coach and I teach besides the mindset is you have to commit to all areas of your life. It's not just be good in finance or just be good in your physique. It needs to be good, or maybe you're great in your relationships, but you can't pay the bills. That doesn't work. You got to commit everywhere. So wrestling is over. Things are good, but I still got the juices flowing. So I said, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. You know,
Mr. Olympia? Did you do that?
Well, I tried. I never made it to Olympia, but I was close. So 42 years old. Most people at 42, they're mailing it in. Life is, you know, whatever it is, they're making excuses why they can't even go to the gym anymore. Right. So I'm 42. So I do my first contest. I win. go to nationals. I win my second contest. I become a pro in 2 contests. My 3rd ever bodybuilding contest was my pro debut, and I placed 5th. That was I would say I was really, really hoping. 42, my window of getting to the Olympia was fairly short, because most of the guys that are on the Olympia stage are in their late 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
And, I got a late start to bodybuilding. So either way, but I competed as an open pro all the way up till I was 49 years old. And I told myself, if I'm competitive as an open pro, I'm happy with that. That's a big thing. I'm competing to guys that are easy 20 years younger than me,
That's pretty.
So basically I'm a pro bodybuilder now. Well, what does a pro bodybuilder do? He starts a gym. So I start a gym, kind of another great business, kicking butt, having fun, another dream come true, Every guy that lifts weights has a dream of having his own gym. So
Alex Hermosi, that's your competitor, huh?
yeah. Yeah, he started off in fitness. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so now I got a gym, and that's great too. I'm a pro bodybuilder, got a gym, my family's great, everything's good. And all of a sudden I start getting phone calls, like, hey, to the gym, can you train me? I'm thinking, and I'm in a local mindset business-wise, geographically, because I've never had a business that's been worldwide. I've never really thought that way before. Well, the internet hadn't really, social media hadn't taken off. It was kind of the old way of thinking with business, And so basically, if these people that are calling are not local, they're, all over our country, like, hey, can you train me? Yeah, where do you live? I'm in Missouri. Well, I'm in California. So I quickly realized, okay, this gym thing is really holding me back. And so I told my wife, I said, hey, I'm going to have you oversee the gym. I'm going to lean on this thing and see what happens. And so I started putting energy into this. At very first, it was just the whole USA, because it was such a big market. It wasn't just local, like, a gym. And this thing turned itself into, now bam, I got another 7-figure business. It didn't happen overnight, but I'm changing people's lives too. It's not like I just was, hey, can you train me? Sure, here's a program, blah, blah, blah. I really love what I do in terms of helping people. But bam, so my gym kind of spawned my current mentoring business. And now this is where I really kind of stumbled across my purpose. The story where I started, right. Most people, when they have a start like that, that's the reason why they stay pathetic, as to where, in my story, that rough start was exactly why I was able to do all the things that most people didn't think was possible. Yeah. And a bunch of them all wrapped into one. But ultimately, as this new business started taking off, it was basically online coaching, which turned into online mentoring, because what was happening was people wanted me to help them get stronger and lose weight. But what I was doing was I was helping them do that, but I also understood. Yeah, see, I had done all of what I did up here, and everything else was just kind of fun. I make the joke, the body's just kind of like the nuts dragging behind the mind, It's true. Yeah, 100%. And so I'm helping these people, but what I'm really doing, they're getting great results, and they're like, God, this is so much better, and it's like sustainable. That's because I'm helping them kind of reframe their mindset, and I'm helping them create habits and habit stack in a way that doesn't seem like it's turning their lives upside down. Awesome. And so it quickly goes from a company that's helping people get in shape to a company that's actually helping people improve. And that's where it kind of made the switch into more of a mentoring company. And this is where I really have found my whole story leads me to I'm living my purpose now. It's like I want to affect as many people as I can before, because I'll never retire from what I do. I just won't wake up one day. That's the way it'll work, because I don't feel like I work. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm following my passions. And of course, none of it would be possible without the way it developed.
Rough beginning.
Yeah, 100%. And so that's really part of my message. Number one, my message is that, like I said before, if you think that your challenges or your pitfalls in life are holding you back, no, your superpowers are attached to those. You just got to start looking for them. The silver lining is there. And then the second part is, the second part where I live, really with the space that I live in now, where I help people is, see, our minds are, it's like a supercomputer, and it has this ability to do some amazing work for us. But if you don't understand it, it'll do lots of work that actually, it'll work against you. You know, like if you set your mind in a certain direction, it will keep going that way. You know, like a really, really simple example, you know, like a common problem amongst the average man is he, you know, end of the day comes, he's tired, and all of a sudden he finds the reasons why he shouldn't go exercise, right? Well, it's because he, at some point, maybe gets off at 5, somewhere around 4 o'clock, he thinks, you know, I'm kind of tired, maybe I shouldn't exercise, and he lets his mind start going down the path of why he shouldn't, and his brain, his supercomputer, goes out and collects all of this data that shows him and proves him why he shouldn't exercise. Yeah. Versus if he set his mind down the other direction, his mind would go out and collect all of the things that's needed for him to actually do what he needs to do. Yeah. And so to go further than that, you know, when we, as people, if we understand how to frame our minds properly, we really get to kind of choose what we see. You know, our reality is we choose what we get to see it. But if you don't understand how to, you know, reframe the mind and kind of retrain the neuroplasticity, you're always going to be looking around finding the problems. This is the way our brain was designed. Our brain was designed to pick out the problems, because if you go far enough back in our lives and human history, if our brains weren't programmed that way, we wouldn't have survived as a race, because living to tomorrow was the goal. Well, if the brain wasn't, you know, picking out all of the things that were trying to eat us for lunch, we would have gotten eaten for lunch. Yeah. Yes, but in today's world, none of those threats exist.
Right, but we still focus on the problems.
Yes.
The solution.
Yes, and so an average person, he looks in his world and he sees just problems surrounding him. Right. And the funny part is about 75% of those problems don't even exist in reality. They only live in the mind. You know, and you can prove that. You guys can prove that. Take a piece of paper, split it down the middle, left side, write all of the things that have stressed you out over the last 6 months. Right side, write down the things that actually came to reality. 75% of that lived only in your mind. So we're suffering over imaginary shit. Yeah. So when you start to understand how this works and you reframe everything and you train your mind not to see the problems, because see, the problem actually is just like a speed bump in front of a reward or an opportunity. But if your brain is trained to see the problem, it sees the problem and it stops. Mm-hmm. Versus when you reframe how you see things, you don't really see the problem, you see the opportunity or you see the reward. And then you run around and you pick up the rewards. And it's people, another way to put it, you hear the term scarcity mindset and abundant mindset. That's used a lot. Well, I would say there's a large percentage of people that don't understand what that really means. So I distill everything. I simplify everything. That's what made me me. The complex shit, that's not how I figured it out. My problem solving skill set is to make things simple.
That's good.
So let's simplify these two terms. Instead of scarcity, let's call it losing. Instead of abundant, let's call it winning, right? Mm-hmm. So we've all lost something. Maybe it was a sporting event when you're a kid. Your confidence is broken. You question if you can do it well. And you make decisions in that mindset, which those decisions usually don't serve you well. Versus you're winning. You're excited. You're fired up. You can't wait to do it again. You make decision in that winning mindset. Those decisions are going to propel your life forward. And so the person that's looking around seeing the problems, he's in that mindset, kind of that losing or that scarcity mindset. So he's making decisions based upon what he sees, which is the problems. Yeah. Those decisions propel his life in a way he probably doesn't want it to go.
And my question is, as a parent, if somebody has a son that is being bullied and is going through a rough childhood like yours, how should the parent deal with that? What should the parent do to help the child?
It's a great question. You know, a lot of times people ask me, you know, what was it that, you know, allowed me to do what I did? And I think, you know, my mom, as I said, I'm a mama's boy, right? And still love mom. She's 90 years old. And
90?
90.
Wow,
We still have these
amazing.
amazing conversations.
Wow.
Yeah. But here's the thing. She believed in me. And because she believed in me, it was easier for me to believe in myself. And so I think when it comes down to it, is like, you see plenty of parents, oh, you can do anything you want, but they're just saying it. A creature, even if a creature is a kid, they can tell if someone's being sincere. Are you just telling this?
Feel it.
Yes. Are you just telling the kid he can do, well, you can do whatever you want. You can be a doctor, and so I part of it for me was the fact that she believed in me. It made it easy for me to believe in myself. And then when it came down to it, and I think this is part of the thing that most parents need to hear now. When I was working hard and I was developing that work ethic, because I had to work twice as hard to get my homework done,
Yeah.
Instead of taking an hour, it took me 2.5 hours. Well, sitting right next to me the whole time.
So much patience.
She was.
Wow.
You can't just, as a parent, if you have a kid like this, you have to do it with them. You can't just tell them what they have to do. You have to be a part of what it is that they're doing. She helped me develop this stuff. It wasn't, it's great for me to say, yeah, I did this and I did that, but without her, there's no me. If I didn't have her, in my corner the way she was, I would not have developed the skills that I developed that allowed me to do what I did with my life. So I think to answer that question, if you have a child that's struggling, you got to believe in them. And part of what the belief system is, you have to actually I'm not saying do their shit for them, but you got to be by their side all the way. Because part of what's going to make them believe is the fact that you believe, and you're proving. You can't just say. Your kids don't give a shit what you say. They care what you do.
Yeah.
So if my mom would say, yeah, you can do anything, but then she had just kind of put me in my room and left, that's not really demonstrating the kind of belief that I received from her.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. And how about you as a child? How did you heal that wounded child in you? Because I know you said you're still there, but it's not. I don't see the struggle anymore. It's a
it's a blessing. So I say the fat little boy is like, thank God the fat little boy. Yeah, I'm not having a good cry over the fat little boy. Thank God the fat little boy. I make the joke all the time. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I still see that fat little sucker. Well, it's because he's a part of me, and thank you. Because if he wasn't a part of me, I'm not me. So it's all in how you frame, these parts of you. You can be a victim because of something that happened to you or who you once were, or you can say, thank God that little guy was a part of me, because that little guy, without that little guy,
so I wouldn't have had the hard wife that wouldn't have mentioned.
I wouldn't. That's right. I wouldn't have developed. That's right. Life is good. Shit. And it's because of him, because of the little guy. So, for the person that says, how do you heal? Well, how do you heal from this, a trauma or a situation or who you once were? You're looking at it from the wrong position. It's a blessing. It's all in how you look at it. And I think that's the problem with people is that, I had this happen to me. Well, thank God that happened to you, because of that, look at this.
Yeah, I love that. That is amazing.
So to a certain extent, there really are no scars. They're badges of honor.
Huh. Wow. Just drop the mic. Wow.
And part of when I get a hold of people, the clients that come to me, and they're so programmed with I can'ts, and they're so programmed with, it's just, unfortunately, especially after COVID, it's like this learned helplessness is unbelievable.
COVID messed
what do I have to do? What do I have to do? I can't. Okay, listen. You know what? We are going to thank everything that happens to us, good or bad. We need to retrain how we think. Because right now, all you do is you look for all the shit. You look for all the places, these little holes to crawl into and be a victim. Thank that hole. Thank that situation, because I get kicked in the nuts, right? I'm on my hands and knees. This is just an example, right? I'm on my hands and knees and I'm having a hard time breathing. I'm down here and I'm thinking to myself, well, there must be something down here I'm supposed to see that I couldn't see when I was standing up. That's literally.
Once you find some expensive coin.
It's usually could be an expensive coin, but usually it's a position or a vantage point or some perspective or an idea. But that's the way that I've got my mind trained. It doesn't matter what happens. There is a silver lining, period, end of story. And when you reframe how you think, when you reframe how you see your reality and your neuroplasticity, this is where your thoughts go. This is where your brains go. And life is a different place.
That is amazing. That is.
This now we're kind of boiling down, my purpose. I want to help as many people as I can understand this, because if the fat little boy with the learning disability could do it, then someone who started off without problems, just think what you're capable of.
Right.
Yeah. I make the joke. I don't know if you're a golfer.
I like golf. I'm not that good.
Well, the joke I make is I started off as a double bogey golfer. So if you're a bogey or a par golfer, just think what your possibilities could be.
Hey, that is a good one.
Yeah. And so I think that's really that's really my message. And I feel like now getting my message out to as many people as I can.
Lead by example.
Yeah, 100%. And like before we started, I was telling you, I get up at 3 a.m. I get up at 3 a.m. because I'm excited to get up. It's not hard.
I don't know how you can convince me to be excited at 3 o'clock.
Well, but again, it's because I get up, the reality that I see, I can't wait to see it again.
Are you like, because you see wow, okay, I still look good. Look at the wife.
It's
the house.
It's because granted, those are the physical, the things that you see, but it's how you feel. It's the things that you're doing, the lives that you're going to change. It's the life that you're leading. I always we live in this day every day, right? Well, I call the day, it's a loop, right? And it's a 24-hour loop. You got 24-hour time. They're basically 24 1-hour slots. And you got to kind of ask yourself, what are you doing with your time slots? And if you're doing things with your time, because I break things down to be really simple. Because simplicity works for me. That's how I made myself. That's how I teach other people to do things. If it's so simple and the barrier of entry is low, it's very easy to start. And if the process is simple, very easy to continue. And if you get a lot of results, why would you stop?
Yeah.
And so you look at all your time slots. Right? You're going to be sleeping for 8 of them. You're going to be spending time with loved ones for a few. If your time slots are filled with things that you can't wait to do, you can't wait to get up and
yeah. Well.
And part of that too is to, every night before I go to bed, I look at what tomorrow holds. And I'm excited about tomorrow before I go to bed.
Changing lives, huh?
Yeah, but it's changing lives is a huge part of it. But it can be, I'm excited to, do my workout because I'm excited to get a little better there. I'm excited I want to be in the best place I can be when my wife wakes up and she comes walking into the bedroom. When you start to find the enjoyment, you find joy out of the simplest things in life. It's a different way to live.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But part of that is because you've removed all the anxiety of all these problems that are pretty much non-existent. When you're constantly dealing with the anxiety and the stress hormones that your brain pumps in your bloodstream over all the problems that you see, that's the reality you live in. I wouldn't want to get up and look at that. I wouldn't be excited to get up at 3 a.m. and start looking at problems. Hell no, I want to stay in bed. But you get up and you're looking at opportunities. It's a different thing. It's a different reality. So,
do you still have the real estate company?
No, actually, I still own some real estate. But when the real estate, and that's another perfect example. I took a beating in 2008.
Oh,
beat
a
it.
lot of people.
But that was another, and people, oh my God, at the high point, I mean, I was kind of, from a financial standpoint, I was kind of done,
Oh, dang.
But I mean, at that point, I hadn't really found my purpose yet either. And so I was still like, money was a huge driver for me, right? Mm-hmm. So when that happened, I was like, okay, this is a huge opportunity. Not sure what it is yet, but I know there's an opportunity here, because I had this huge real estate portfolio that just got devoured, and that's when I made the decision that, okay, you're not going to do anything for money unless you would do it for free. It's like, I'm not going to do something for money that I'm not going to do an activity I don't want to do. It's like, if I want to do something and I can make money when I do something that I want to do it, that's a different kind of a life. Yeah. And so that's obviously, my gym is in this era. Changing people's lives was really the biggest thing that came out of this. It was like, that's really, so again, getting my ass kicked in 2008, huge blessing, huge. If it didn't happen, I wouldn't see my reality would be different.
Dang. Even that.
Yeah, everything. I mean, it doesn't make, no matter anything that somebody might call a problem, I have deemed a blessing, and I've actually proven that it's a blessing.
That's awesome. How about yeah.
What?
I'm the most resilient person I've ever had on my podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, and the thing about it is, here's the part of the thing is that people, it's not as far away as people think. That's that's the message I really want to send. Of course, I want to change lives, but I want to change how they think. I want to change, how they, deal with situations. And instead of looking at something as a hardship, that hardship is there to create an opportunity for you. And when you're looking for, again, problem, opportunity, what are you looking at? The problem goes by, there's the opportunity. Or you just, opportunity's over here, but you're stuck over here. That's where people are. And when you
force yourself to find a solution, the moment.
Well, in force would be what the average person would say. What you're doing is you're training your mind to do it. It's just a knee-jerk reaction.
Automatically.
It just happens. Yeah, you don't really have to think about, when you got to take a piss, you don't really have to think about it. You just find yourself walking towards the toilet. It's like, it's just built in. Well, all of this it's built in. That makes sense? Yeah. At the most basic level. Yeah. I mean, every once in a while, like, to get personal, it was just a few months ago, my wife and I had a cancer scare. There was a possibility that we found a lump, and we're like, holy shit. I mean, talk about the world come crashing down. And of course, I found myself sitting in my thinking chair, and I was, breathing, and I'm like, okay, well, you're swallowing this thing, and it just started to happen. I was like, okay, we're going to get through this. We can't control the outcome, so let's not worry about what we can't control. But what we're going to focus on is, once we get the results that this is negative, we have a new lease on life. We would never see life this way without being in this position we're sitting in right now. Yeah. So we're going to get through this, and when it's over, we're going to have a better life than we ever had before. And because we took that position, it was obviously much easier to get through it. And, by no means am I trying to say that we willed her not to have cancer, but we had absolutely we could have worried ourselves to death. We couldn't have changed the outcome. And so,
she's good.
But the point is that my brain, my neuroplasticity is just a reaction. It's trained to immediately go to, find that silver lining. And we're talking about massive, like one of the biggest scares that you could have. The little things that happen every day, it just happens. I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really it. Well, I want people to understand that you really can, with you understand how to change your mental framework. You completely change your life. I work with primarily men. And so the joke I make is if a man trained his brain like he trained his chest, he would have whatever he wants in his life. Because everybody will go to the gym and they'll train their chest every Monday. You know, it's the International Bench Press Day. But how many of those men are spending 2 hours a day or an hour a day, or an hour a week even, training their brains?
Yeah.
The mental framework that I give my clients, it's every morning and it's 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay,
But it's every day.
Okay, and what do they need to do, or you can't elaborate?
Well, I mean, it's very customized based upon the person. But what it is, it's just, and I can kind of give you the synopsis of it. What it is, it's basically just a series of they're writing, but it's a series of exercises where they're basically training their brains to find the good every morning. Because we wake up, let's be honest, we all wake up and we start thinking about all the shit we got to deal with.
Right.
So immediately our brains are going to the problems. With those problems comes cortisol, enters the bloodstream, right? Now we're all twigged out, and many people stay in that stressed out, anxiety-ridden state all day long. Well, when you get up and they go and they do these drills, these mental exercises, and they write, and they're training their brain to go to the opposite of the problems. They're training to look at the gratitude. They're looking at the things that they're going to do for the day that are going to make them happy. The things that they're going to do that are going to make them better. And when you start to do something like this daily, you know, the brain is this crazy, I call it a supercomputer.
Yeah, it is.
But you gotta give it some attention, and it'll do what you want it to do. But you just kind of let it run rampant. It's gonna have its way with you.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, it's just a series of exercises that they're doing where they're training their brains not to look at all the shit that stresses them out. We get them into a state of gratitude right away. Their brain is releasing oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine. They're in a much better state. This is like you earn your winning mindset. You earn your abundant mindset every single morning.
That's amazing.
Because if you don't come out, you don't wake up, and you don't intentionally do it, your brain will put you in that scarcity or that losing mindset. It's designed to do it.
Man, is there one thing that they all have in common? Like, or maybe
What they're writing?
like your patients. Is there like, say,
Patients. I sound like a doctor. My clients. I would say, I mean, for the most part, obviously, primarily men. And I would say that the commonalities is that...
Divorce.
What's that?
Divorce.
Well, you know, I think what it comes down to is they've all somehow... Life has kind of beat them up, and they let themselves go on all levels. They're usually overweight. They're tired. They're emotionally kind of spent. Their focus is gone. You know, they're just a lesser version of what they know they should be, but they don't know how to get back. And they've tried and they've failed, and you know that they've failed too many times, or they just kind of become defeated and they quit. And that's the biggest problem, is that, you know, once you stop trying, you don't have a chance. So
if you stopped trying, you need to get with Jon. He'll fix you.
When, you know, the thing about it that I realize is that when people come to me,
Yeah.
we need to get them out of the gate quickly. We need to get them some success. We got to get some easy wins, because that, you know, that lift, it makes them want to try more. And so the last thing that I do is ask them to do something that's going to seem too overbearing. I just start off with these simple tasks that kind of gets that wind in their sails. And then once they get it kind of that breath of fresh air, they get back in that winning mindset, they want to do more. Because a permanent change in someone's life, they've got to want to do it. And if I've given a whole bunch of things that they have to do, that's not going to last. You know, like with exercise. One of my first questions is, what type of exercise do you like? Well, I do cardio. No. I'm not asking you what you do. What do you like? Well, I like to do this, that, or that. Okay, well, that's what we're going to do. Because it's like if you like to go to the movies on Thursday night, you're going to go to the movies on Thursday night. You know, if you don't like to go to the movies on Thursday night, and somebody's bringing you, at some point say, you know, I'm not going back there next Thursday. And so it's the idea that we have to change their lifestyle, but it has to be done with a series of things that are simple, executable, give them a lot of return for their investment. And when it comes to activity, it has to be something that they look forward to because they'll continue to do it.
That's that is a very smart method.
Simplicity.
Yes.
I'm the king of simplicity.
Which is that's probably why you're winning. Yeah.
But that's literally, I mean, when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
If you can get someone in that winning mindset and they can live for the most part there, we're always going to have slips where you slip back and do a quick view of that losing mindset, but you quickly don't want to be here and you're happy to go back. And we even have exercises to get them back. Like midday can be something happens, boom, they're in a losing mindset. They know exactly what to do to reframe their mind and go back.
Very cool.
Yeah. And so you hear the word vibration, vibrating high. And some people don't get that
frequency
either. And all that stuff. Call vibrating high just feeling good, right? Well, when you live your life feeling good and then something happens, you're like, damn it, I don't feel good. You want to go back. Well, what if you had a couple of simple steps to go back? Well, that's one of the things that I help my people with. So getting in that winning mindset, getting in that feeling good, getting in that high vibration and understanding how to exist there, that's what it's all about.
But you know what, Jon, I'll be honest. I was very low. Like my vibration, my frequency, I was so low when I came to the studio. I was actually turned on. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this today. I'm like, but now after you guys came in, I'm like,
yeah.
It's who you're talking to, and because you're transmitting all.
Yes. Oh yeah. Like, I mean, 100%. When had you come in here, and there are a bunch of people that were vibrating low, it would have been hard for you to return. And that's another big thing too, is that, people tend to not understand that the people around them, it's like sometimes
important.
Yeah, you have to really be careful because in so many cases, like a lot of times I'll get clients and we'll level them up, and that's kind of the general term. Like, what are we leveling up? Well, what does the person need to level up? Sometimes everywhere, but either way, once they start leveling up and they really, really start vibrating high and they live in that positive state, all of a sudden those people around them that like to bitch and complain and talk shit about other people, they don't really have a place in their lives anymore. And so you start to see these people drifting away because they're looking for people to bitch with.
And you're not an option.
No, that's it. And because that is not going, having, those thoughts and talking poorly about others. It's just, that stuff doesn't exist in that winning mindset, that abundant mindset, the high vibration. And so, but you're so correct. I mean, it's like, being exposed to the right people can bring you right back.
And thank you. By the way. Yes. And on that note, do you want to play 3 games?
Let's play.
All right. This one is called Would You Rather? And the questions are going to be really quick and easy, so I won't be. Would you rather lift weights with your favorite celebrity or wrestle with a professional wrestler of your choice?
Well, I would lift weights with my favorite celebrity because lifting weights that's the core. That's my favorite. The wrestling or the strongman or the body, these were just like the side effects of the lifting weights.
And who's that celebrity?
I'd have to say Arnold. I mean, come on. I mean, he was the thing that made this. He was the trigger. And then when I actually got to do some work with him, what he told me, he said, you're in this position now where you're going to start to find that giving back is going to be more important than your own accolades. And man, that's a wise dude right there. Because then I start to realize, man, I really have settled into my life's work. And I understand my life's work, which is to, I want to affect everybody that comes across my path positively, whether it's just a smile or like, when you got to call AT&T or something, so you need help with your cell phone, and you get on somebody that says, hello, this is Maddie. How can I help you today? She's used to somebody pissed off, and so I'm going to be the guy, hey, Maddie, I'm Jon. How are you today? And then there's this 5 seconds of quiet where she's trying to figure out.
Wait, what?
Somebody's being nice. I'm doing well today. That's great. Hey, I'm hoping you can help me with this. I treat her like a person. I'm nice because I know that few minutes that I spend with her being a positive human being is going to affect her positively. And it goes down to those little things.
Can change someone's day.
Yes. Walking down the street, smile, hello, how are you?
Yeah.
I mean, even with, with my business, if it works that if someone can't work with me or they're not ready to, I have this handbook that I call the Monster Mindset. And it's very simple, very easy read. Obviously, you know who wrote it, so it's going to be easy to read.
What?
It's okay. It's okay. It's part of the story. But I'm going to give this to people because, hey, maybe you're not ready to work with me for who knows what reason, or maybe you just wanted to come say hello and you want something to get you moving in the right direction. Boom. Here's this handbook. It's an easy read, and it's going to get your mind moving in the right direction. It's going to get you asking some questions of yourself. It's going to help you see things a little differently. And that's really important to me, that everybody that crosses my path is going to have some positive effects.
Are you selling that on Amazon or?
No, I'm giving it away.
Oh.
Yeah, anybody that comes, like if someone comes into my social media, and they, sometimes they come in and just say hello. They're looking for some bit of motivation, or sometimes they inquire about coaching, but they're just not quite ready. Yeah.
Okay.
I basically, boom, I give them this.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm actually, I call that a handbook, not really a book.
Okay.
Because it's when I say little, it's just more of a handbook. You know what I mean? I could call it a book, but that'd be cheap. But I actually have two other books.
What?
My first book is called Deep Water. It's basically the waves of life, so to speak, where I really kind of pulled my pants down. I told some really, really embarrassing stories, and I just wanted to let people see that, hey, they see me now, but some of the stuff that he went through, read those. I mean, I really told some embarrassing shit in there because I wanted people to understand, listen, it happens to everybody. And I tried to tell the most embarrassing things because hopefully it's more embarrassing than the person reading went through, and they feel better about what they're hiding or too afraid to talk about.
That sounds like a good read. I got to check it out.
Check it out. Absolutely. That one's on Amazon.
Okay. Jon Andersen.
Yeah. So, but on that level, so going back to your question, it would have been lifting weights with Arnold because he was really the one that had such a massive influence on me, and in the beginning and in the end, full circle, because he's the one that told me
the charity stuff.
Yeah, he's like, you're going to find that giving back and helping people is going to become really important to you.
Dang.
Yeah.
Huh? And what is the book called?
So the one where that it's on Amazon, it's called Deep Water.
Deep Water. Okay, you mentioned it. My apologies. Okay.
Yeah, I have another one. It's not on Amazon. That one's called The Cycle of Greatness.
Okay.
And that one goes into a lot of what we talked about, where I talk about, in that book, I talk about the chaos period, which I try to use phrases and things that people understand. A chaos period is when you're going into we all have them. You're going into a phase of life that's just kicking your ass. Well, that's the restructuring. You got to get through that, because when you get out the backside of it, that's where things, kind of re-blossom. That's where the new you.
Kind of like midlife crisis, right?
You could, for sure, but I mean, you could have them. You might have a chaos period every month, or you might have a big one like a midlife crisis. For sure, it's just a concept that. Another way to sum it up, like I remind myself all the time when I'm having a big challenge, or if I'm working on something, and because as an entrepreneur, as you put your head down and you work, you pick your head up, nothing's changed. Stick your head back down, work, stick your head up, nothing's changed. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Work. Then finally, you pick your, I'm making progress. So I remind myself, and that might be a chaos period, where you're really having to dig. You're going through something that's really difficult, and you just have to keep going. But I remind myself often that the darker it is, the closer I am to the light. And that's a chaos period. Sometimes it gets dark. You have a hard time seeing what's around you, but you just got to keep going. Don't quit, because all of a sudden, the chaos period's over and there's a new you.
That's awesome. And now we're back with the question.
Yes.
That was really good though, especially the new you.
Yeah.
Now you're stronger.
100%. And that is so it. Every time we overcome a challenge, there is a new version of you.
Yeah.
The bigger the problem is, the new you, he's sitting over there waiting, saying, come on, I'm over here. Get through this shit. You can do it.
And you're going to be even...
You're going to be better. It's that you can see him. He's over there. He's bigger. He's stronger. Hell, he might even be better looking. So hurry up and get through that problem, you know?
Especially like looking at the fat kid.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, you know what's the saying? That the things that don't kill you make you stronger. That is the most true thing you've ever heard in your life. And the crazy part about it is that people, they get so worried about stuff. Oh my God, I'm not going to make it. Well, guess what? If you're saying I'm not going to make it, remind yourself this. You've got a 100% survival rate. You've always made it. So stop saying that dumb shit and keep going. You know?
That's not your day to die.
Yes. Yeah, stop saying that. You have made it every time.
That's awesome. I wish my friend who killed himself watched this episode.
Because sometimes it's just, and I'll get goose pimples just hearing that, because it could just be a moment where she heard one thing that gave her the strength to get through that moment that she didn't make it through.
Yeah. Just that one moment.
Yeah.
Or maybe somebody to just say.
Yeah, it could have been a phrase. It could have been anything. It just that little bit of strength that had gotten her to the next breath to make a slightly different decision.
Mm-hmm. And on a positive note, would you rather be known for your incredible physique or for your entrepreneurial success?
Hands down, entrepreneur success. Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite claims to fame, if you will, I'm not trying to say I'm famous, but of all my accomplishments, what I'm proud of the most is I've never been to an interview. I've never collected a paycheck. I've never had
a rat race.
I've never had to sit in traffic. I have never done it the way most people do it.
I envy you.
Yeah, I'll take that over anything else, you know?
Yeah.
Because you know what that represents? That represents the mindset. And when the mindset is different, the whole life is different.
Mm-hmm. They didn't get to brainwash you like they brainwashed the rest of us.
Well, you know, I think I was just dumb enough not to get brainwashed. I didn't, you know, the uptake was slow enough. I didn't learn fast enough like everybody else. So I didn't get that dumb shit locked in my head.
You see?
Yeah.
Shouldn't that mean that the public system shouldn't, like, would you homeschool the kids or you guys?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, but you know, the stuff that I said to our like, they were 4, 5, 6 years old, and I'm saying stuff to them. They don't understand, but they can repeat it. I'm saying, look, you need to choose your life or life will choose you. And they're like 6 years old. They're like, Daddy, what does that mean? I said, just remember, you're going to figure it out. You know, you know, we were just very different as parents. You know, we understood that letting society or their friends or their coaches or their teachers define difficult was not going to be part of their frame of mind. You know, like when they got in trouble, right? Because when they were little, you know, there's different forms of discipline, right? And at some point, you have to change forms of discipline because sometimes it stops working. Well, the one that really stuck was they would have to write pages, right? If you did something wrong, okay, that offense might be 5 pages, right? Well, 5 was actually pretty low. Yeah, sometimes they would get in trouble and they'd have to write sometimes 10, 12, 15 pages.
And that was no ChatGPT back then.
Wait, and we're talking about a 10-year-old, right? Well, see, writing 10 pages sounds really difficult because people think it's difficult. You know, easily they wrote those pages once they got them up to speed.
Really?
I mean, but the reason we had them write pages was because what they were doing is they were writing about, they knew what they did, Why did they do it? It gave them time to think about it. But what I'm getting at is, and keep in mind, when they wrote that many pages, is they were antagonizing the situation. You know, it's like, don't do that, or use 5 pages. Okay, now it's 7. Okay, now it's 9. So they were bearing themselves when they got that many pages. But what I'm getting at is that, you know, they could sit down and knock out 10 pages because, you know, most kids would think that would be a job that would take them a week. Because that's what society or their friends or their parents had taught them. We kind of helped our kids define their own level of difficulty. What was difficult for them was so much greater than their friends and the kids around them.
Yeah, if 10 pages are nothing.
Well, and it served them so well. You know, like when they went into middle school, you know, a lot of the teachers say your homework is to write a page about who you are so I can read and understand, you know, the new students in class. Our girls would hear this with like 2 minutes left, and they would write the page and turn it in. And other kids were like, how did you do that?
Wow.
You see what I mean? We kind of just, we scaled we framed their minds differently. They were scaled into a different level of what they thought was difficult. You know, they could bust out 100 bodyweight squats and not think anything of it, you know?
So they're working out early.
Yeah, I mean, it was anything they did, we can't say that we expected a lot from them. We just kind of, and we would do the stuff, and in many cases, we would do it with them, you know, like many times we did family workouts and things like this, you know, but I guess to answer your question is that, yes, our kids went to public school, but we took it really in our own hands to help kind of reframe how they saw what difficult was. Because when you're growing up, it's when you're surrounded by new things that seem difficult, and what you think is difficult creates a limitation.
Right.
And we didn't want that for them.
That's amazing. Yeah, I like that. Should we ask another question here? Would you rather?
Each question lasted about 5 minutes by the time we're done. I love it. We're having a fun conversation.
Yes. Actually, would you rather spend a week training with your idol in bodybuilding or have a one-on-one coaching session with the top business mentor? Very similar to the other one, but
I said, read it one more time, because I almost thought you were reading the first one.
Yeah, it's similar, but not quite.
Yeah.
So this is a training one. So would you rather spend a week training with your idol in bodybuilding? Are we talking Arnold again? Or have a one-on-one coaching session with a top business mentor?
I would take the one-on-one coaching with a top business mentor because, you know, business is kind of my new sport, if you will.
Okay.
You know, and the better I get at business, the more lives I can change. It fits really into my purpose.
The new chapter of your life.
100%.
And who would that be? Do you have somebody in mind that you would?
You know, there's a lot of really, really good business mentors out there. I mean, I can think of, you know, a handful of them. But you know, if I got to choose one, I would probably request to have a little bit of time to really, really research the right one based upon what I wanted to do. But I would say, yeah, that hands down, that would be my answer. Yeah.
Okay. What about, would you rather have to give up all supplements for a year or give up your favorite workout for a year?
I would have to give up all supplements for a year because training is like that's kind of like, you know, it's like eating or breathing. It's a part of what makes me. If I don't move, right, I don't change my physiology, I don't get the brain chemistry from, you know, I depend, that's part of my daily routine is, you know, I depend on my brain giving me the positive chemistry so that I can be in that winning mindset. And if I can't have my movement, you know, call it workout movement, because I do different styles of training, if you will. Some of it is resistance training. Others is just purely to stimulate the change in physiology to get those chemicals. And yeah, that's a huge part of my day. I don't know that I could give that part. I couldn't give that up.
No.
I wouldn't be able to. I would have difficulty staying in the proper frame of mind without that.
Right. What about the supplements? Which supplements do you use, or do you not want to do free promos here?
No, I mean, when it comes down to it, supplements are kind of a slippery slope because they're really the supplement market when it comes to I guess you'd say, the fitness industry is really good at making money.
Right.
Really good. Like if you knew the markup on a pre-workout, you probably would never buy it again because it's insulting. Really? Oh yeah. It's like, whoa. So I really, when it comes down to it, I use very little supplementation in terms of what, we might think like protein powders and things like this. Yeah. I mean, I use a multi. I make sure that, I make sure that I use supplements in terms of not so much protein powders or things like that, but more vitality type supplements. I make sure I have the magnesium, the zincs, and the fish oils and things like that. But my diet consists of, I get all of most people use a supplement because they feel like they're not getting enough protein per se. I get all the protein I need through real food. But then obviously supplements in terms of your endocrine system, that kind of thing, at 53, and I think that's something that most males should look at. If your endocrine system is not leveled out, if your testosterone is low, just that one thing, that really can change how a male is going to feel and even act for that matter. So, yeah, but keep in mind when you're living the way I explained it is, the way we live our daily life, right? Our loop, as I call it, our 24-hour loop. You are either going to create a positive or a negative health ripple effect. So if you're living your life in a way where you're creating a negative health ripple effect, then you're basically creating yourself problems. But if you're going the other way and you're creating a positive ripple effect, then you're actually helping your body regenerate. You're helping your endocrine system level out. So when it comes down to it, a big part of, what supplements you may need really depend on how do you live your day-to-day life. Does that make sense?
It's all.
Yeah. I mean, when you live your day-to-day life the way that you should, and you're making that positive ripple effect, the supplementation that you need is far less.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're getting the proper sleep, that right there will be a game changer. There's an interesting one.
Huh.
I haven't had a set bedtime most of my life at 8 o'clock.
Like 8 p.m.?
PM.
Like the
PM.
chickens?
PM. Yeah. Yeah. Now, granted, wrestling was different because sometimes I wouldn't even get in the ring. If I was in the main event, I wouldn't even get in the ring until 9 sometimes. But that was only because of that. That was my job at the point.
Wow.
But obviously, that was just a situational thing. But when it comes to my other careers, bodybuilding and strength, that was a huge part of it. And a set bedtime, who is it? Is a Canadian guy, highly successful, Dan Martel. I don't know if you've heard of him. $100 million guy, crushing business. Yeah, I'm sure. I guarantee if you saw him. He's an Ed Milet disciple. Yeah. And he said it so many times. He said, if you have a set bedtime and you stick to it, you're probably going to be more successful than you ever thought you would be just from that bedtime. Dang. Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm messing up your bedtime tonight.
We're that was that. Actually, you know what that alarm was? That was. I didn't turn that off because I figured we were start at 5. We wouldn't hit this, but we started late. So forgive me the alarm. Normally I would have turned it off, but that alarm is actually check it out. That alarm is to remind me to text my youngest daughter because she has epilepsy. So every day I text her in the morning and the evening to remind her to take her medicine. Because
let's do that.
Still do that. Yeah, she's 21.
No, let's do that to make sure.
We can. It's already done. Yeah, it
needs to be done. It's his thing.
Yeah, that's nice.
But I also about 3:30 in the morning, I text my mom, I text my wife and my 3 daughters every morning just not with the intent of wanting a response. Just want them to know I'm thinking about it. Yeah. And so when I text my youngest because, it was a few years ago, she was having more seizures than we wanted. And it was because her epilepsy, she's on a really big dose of her medicine. And if she missed even a single dose, it could prompt a seizure. And so this was probably 4 or 5 years ago. About 5 years ago. I was like, she's still at that age where we're doing this daily as a challenge for her. And I'm like, repeating things is what I do. This is, with my OCD as an entrepreneur, all we do is repeat shit. Weightlifting, all we do is repeat shit. So I was like, well, this is silly. I'm going to remind her every day, twice a day, to take her medicine. We haven't had a seizure since. So I'm going to continue to do that until one day I don't wake up.
Oh, God.
Well, that's just the idea that's just me looking out for my loved one, my little one.
And so even though, despite the fact that you have a child with epilepsy, you're still very positive and you're still
100%.
teaching people to be positive.
100%. 100%. Yeah. So, but anyway, going back the alarm to the bedtime, it's 8 o'clock. And people that know me, they understand that's pretty non-negotiable. There's always situations where it'll get stretched a little bit, but it has to be a reason that's worthy. It's not just going to happen because.
Oh, I feel honored. Thank you. Because I know this is
Very tired. Right?
yeah.
No, but we're, you know what? I've been up since 3, but we're having a stimulating conversation. So I'm vibrating high. I'm feeling good. I'm locked on right now. But that was actually 6:40. That wasn't 8 o'clock. So
6:40 was still by the time.
and keep in mind we're not far away from our hotel, so we're good. There's no problems at all.
We'll wrap this up. So
Well, but keep in mind, and on that level, when it comes to what would I stay up late for? I would stay up late for loved ones. I would stay up late to serve my purpose. So that fits into the stretching my bedtime if I needed to. Oh. And I think that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
We're serving the purpose.
Serving the purpose. Nice. I like that. Thank you. Well, would you rather tell your story for a documentary film or write a best-selling book about your journey? Which I think you kind of did. You have 2 books.
I think, I think that I would probably enjoy
The documentary.
The movie portion, because I don't know, I guess because I've actually been in the documentary. I've actually been in 2 different movies. By no means am I claiming that I'm some sort of understand the movie business, but it was really cool as ultimately I was in both of these movies, I was just me. The documentary, I was literally me, right? They followed around 5 wrestlers, right? And that was one of the wrestlers they followed around. The other one was a wrestling movie where I got to be myself also. But the cool part about this was that my kids and my family were in this because in the documentary, they came to our home and whatnot. And then in the other one, it was actually a full-blown, it was like a romantic comedy, right? And so when we were on, we filmed it in Sedona, Arizona. Cool. And so I told the production, I said, look, you're gonna have to take care of, you're gonna need to take care of my kids, put them in some sort of, daycare, whatever it is, or they can be extras. Of course, I was just trying to get them in the movie. So they said, yeah, we'll bring them as extras. So my little girls 2 times got to walk the red carpet and watch themselves on the big screen. I enjoyed that for myself too, but to think that they got to have that experience was far greater than me.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine.
So when I think of documentary, that's the first place I go. That maybe my kids can be in it again.
Maybe you should actually be the producer and director.
Well, I think that's one of those things where if somebody wants to come along and do a movie about me, I'll take it as an honor, but I'm not going to go through the steps of creating a movie about myself,
I'm sure if you tell somebody that you would be interested in the idea, you would have.
If the opportunity came around where someone said, look, we want to do a documentary about you, I would be honored and I would be happy to do it. But to have one produced about myself would feel a little weird. I feel like I would not be serving my purpose. If I was putting that kind of energy. It's one thing for me just to do it, but if I have to do all of the back work of the production and everything else, like, okay, I would consider that to be more of a distraction.
I have to clean some of my stuff from my schedule next year. Maybe I'll be one of those people. I've always wanted to direct a good story.
Well, and and that's the thing too. Someone that's their dream to direct, they're going to direct in a way that would be amazing. You know what I mean? For me to try to do that all myself, that just seemed like no. So,
especially behind the camera, in front of the camera, it's like
it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's like, I mean, if someone's going to celebrate me, perfect. But I don't need to celebrate myself, if that makes sense.
I think it does. Yeah, you're right. Touche. Oh no. I know it's late. If you have like a quick one in, just like a yes and no.
Before you can listen. I'm actually having a wonderful time. Don't think that I'm good.
Yeah. We'll do yes and no. That's all.
I don't even think it's 7:00 yet, so we've got plenty of time.
That's probably.
The hotel is just right around the corner. I don't think it's too far away. We're good.
All right, let's do it.
Do it.
Have you ever thought about quitting your entrepreneur journey?
Never.
No. Do you believe everyone should experience a form of physical competition at least once?
My knee-jerk reaction is yes, but then I also think that competition, it's not always for everyone. I think that people should experience some sort of overcoming some sort of physical adversity. And in many cases, that can be a competition for someone who likes competition, but someone who doesn't like competition overcomes some major physical adversity, because I think that gives someone a feeling that they can't achieve without going through that act.
Mm-hmm. So discipline and all these other skills.
Yeah, there's things that you're going to have to do. And the feeling that you get from overcoming adversity of any kind, you can't buy that feeling.
Right.
You have to earn that feeling. And so I think that's a feeling that people need to feel, because I think that when they feel it, they want more of it.
Because they see the benefits.
Yeah. I mean, for me, competition did exactly that. But I'm not saying that, for everyone, that competition is the framework for it. Maybe it's just, climbing a mountain. It's just getting to the top is overcoming adversity. Doing something that challenges them, I think, would be the insert for competition.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Have you ever had a mentor who significantly influenced your career?
Oh, yeah. I've had a few. Yeah. I'll even tell a quick story, So my family I don't have any true brothers or sisters. My family my mom was married a few times, right? So my oldest brothers, they're half, right? And my sister, she's half. So my mother and my father only had me. Does that make sense? So I have these two older half brothers who their dad, we share a mother. So their dad, his name was Ron. He's no longer with us, but he always treated me, like a son, even though we weren't even around each other that much. But because I was the little brother of his sons, he really treated me well.
Nice.
Yeah, 100%. And he was a wise dude. He was a psychologist. And he was the kind of guy that he knew what to say to you, even though to make you feel better, even though you didn't even know you were having a problem. He's one of those guys. He could just see it, and he kind of knew what to say. So it was Thanksgiving one year, and so this is early on in my journey. And my two brothers, they're kind of all-American brothers. They're just inside the lines, but doing really well. And then there's me. I represent none of that. They were both really smart. I wasn't, they both had came out of college and they went and got steady jobs, stable jobs. I didn't. I scared the shit out of my poor mother. I'm bouncing around trying to find my way, Anyway, so And I'm, keep in mind now I'm competing, which at this point is very accepted, right? Because okay, I guess he really did know what he was doing. When I was trying to make my climb, they were like, this dude's going to end up on somebody's couch for the rest of his life. You know what I mean? But once I started to actually, like when I got on television for the first time, it completely endorsed what I was doing, right? But in that journey, on the way there, I harbored a lot of guilt because it was like I did things my way, but it was different than my brothers, and my brothers, they're just, they're kind of like the all-American brothers, and my mom, I knew I created her a lot of heartache and a lot of stress in the way that I did things. I was probably the hardest one for her. She says I was the hardest, but I'm the most loving, is what she says.
Oh.
Anyway, so I harbored a lot of guilt, and maybe I didn't need to, but I did, right? I don't really know. And a lot of times looking back, I don't even know that I realized how much I was harboring until this moment. Ron looked at me and he says, this is right after a Thanksgiving meal. It was just the two of us left at the table. He says, he called me Johnny. He said, Johnny, I've always had a lot of respect for you because you've always done it your way. And it was like whatever monkey it was or whatever was on my back, whatever that guilt was, just disappeared like a fart in the wind. And I was like, holy shit. There, because I knew what I was doing, but I felt like nobody else did.
Yeah.
And because of that, and I knew that I created some stress for my mom, and I love my mom so much. It made me so upset to upset her. When she would get upset, it would have upset me,
Of course.
And so I remember when that happened, it was just like, and he was for sure an early mentor for me. And when he said that, it was like, it just like that monkey jumped off my back, but more importantly, it just really turbocharged, my everything I was doing to continue to do it my way, but do it even harder, do it even better.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I think the song of your life would be Frank Sinatra, My Way. I don't know why I have that feeling, isn't it? Yeah, sounds like an amazing mentor.
Yeah. Oh, he was one of those guys that, and I believe that when someone passes, they're not here physically anymore, but I still have a relationship with him. He still talks to me. But I think now that he's not here physically, right? When he was here physically, I only saw him a few times a year, right? But now that he's not here physically, he talks to me all the time. So it's actually a better relationship now that he's gone.
That's awesome. But on a serious note, is it like in your dream, or do you have like the sixth sense, or?
I just think, and my stepfather would have been probably one of the greatest mentors, and because he was such a wise. He's a guy who graduated MIT in 3 years.
Oh, dang!
Yeah, chemical engineer, like just crazy.
Wow.
He gave me my temperament. When I met him, I was 7 years old. I met him once. Second time I met him, he told me he was going to be my stepfather, and he said, "You're going to see me mad about as many thumbs as you have on your hands." And I was like, "Who?" And he goes, "Maybe."
Oh.
But anyway, he is another one. He passed away. He passed of cancer, and he's with me all the time too. I don't think it's a sixth sense. I think it's a belief. I think one of the things that people tend to miss in life, belief is a skill. You can't just say you believe. You have to practice your belief. And when you practice belief, you get good at it. And when you practice, believing in something like this, you have it.
That Catholic in you, huh?
Well, I'm actually far from Catholic. Yes, I went to a Catholic school, but
okay. So
that was only because that was the only place they would take me, because we were paying full tuition,
That Christian in you, correction.
Yeah, because I have really, really strong beliefs, but I choose actually not to title it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes down to it,
Faith.
I believe in the universe. I believe in my plan. I believe in all, but I don't. I think putting a name is short selling it.
Wow.
I think it's greater than a name. But on that level, it's not a sixth sense. It's not in my dreams. It's just I can hear them. They talk to me.
Feel it.
Yeah, I can feel them. You know, it's like the influence is what I'm referencing. Their influence lives. It lives in me, and I practice their influence. And because I practice their influence, they're here.
Yeah. Oh, that is so good. This is gonna be an amazing reel right there. I love it. Wow. Yes. That influence.
But you see, all of this stuff that we're talking about, it's because of the mental space, the reality that I live in allows me to see this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I was bludgeoned by cortisol and anxiety over a bunch of problems that were never going to come to reality, you think I would have time to understand and feel all this stuff that we're discussing? If you clear out all that shit that you have no control over, that doesn't exist, look at all the time and space and energy you have for all of this amazing shit that we're talking about.
So true.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so many thoughts. There's only so much time. There's only so much effort. There's only so much you. Where are you investing? Are you investing it in the anxiety? Are you investing in the shit that, you know, never comes to reality? Because if you do, you don't have the space for all this.
You gotta declutter.
Yes, that's it. That's it. You get that shit out of here.
Life and mind, yeah. You know, I notice like I keep getting sidetracked and my mind, I can't focus because there's so much going on.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of like this generation, this whole social media thing. And
It's very difficult for sure. I mean, you have to practice. We have to practice our focus. We have to, focus is like, it's another superpower, because if we can actually truly focus on something, you hear the term deep work.
Mhm.
Deep work just means get the distractions out of the way and do something all the way. And, you're going to get so much more done without scrolling or a buzzer or a beeper or somebody, all of this shit takes you away from your focus. And when you can focus, you can do amazing things.
It's so true. And I guess we're going to end it. I don't want to upset your beautiful wife.
Listen, we're
Is there a question you wish I had asked that I missed?
that's a hell of a question. I think I've done so many podcasts and so many different interviews, and I don't know that I've ever been asked that question. Man, let's see here. Well, the fact that I kind of got to lay out my timeline, that allowed me to put a lot of the stuff on the table that I wanted to make sure that was told in the story that people
Which helped me out a lot. That was amazing. Yeah.
But I think what it comes down to is probably the question that I would whether it would be in this interview or any others, I like it when people ask direct questions about mindset, because mindset finds its way into these conversations, but in actuality, it's like the pillar of the whole goddamn thing.
So how to stay positive?
It's and that's a great question, because mindset has it's like saying health. There's so many elements to your health. There's so many elements to your mindset. What you said is true, but along with a whole bunch of others.
There's so much about it.
Yeah. It's very. I mean, there's many dimensions to it, just like other parts of your life. In a relationship, there's so many elements to a relationship. Well, what part are we talking about?
Right. Oh, and I always ask some type of question about relationship, and I always go in that topic.
Fire away. I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Shit.
How did you guys meet?
Well, this is great. This is great, because normally she tells this story, and I get in trouble.
Jump in.
And when I say, I make the joke when I say I get in trouble for interrupting, because we both like to tell the story. So basically, we ended up. I guess the simplest way to put it, she was. There's a gym where she worked out, and that's close to where her home was. And that was kind of like her home gym, if you will.
Oh, nice.
And she was kind of like the, I guess to put it a funny way, she was like the big swinging dick of the gym. And from a female sense, she was kind of like the shit of that gym. And, you know, there's almost kind of a, you know, with people that have been there a long time, people that are competing, you know, it's like, there's a certain like gym hierarchy, if you will. You know what I mean? And anyway, so basically our middle daughter, see, we were actually a blended family. I had a daughter. She had two when we joined. They were all very little. So our middle daughter was basically going into preschool. And so basically the preschool we're putting into was right by the gym where Terry was. So I would basically take at the time was just my daughter. And it was just the two of us. I used to it was crazy. I would just carry her here all the time. She was always right on my shoulder. She used to travel with me. She actually has been to Japan all over the place. Yeah. Anyway, so I would drop her for preschool. It was 3 hours because it was just the start of preschool. And I would go to this gym and train. Well, that's where she was.
Okay.
And so that's where we started to bump into.
Not at the gym.
Yeah, and then it's actually then from there it was kind of intricate of people recognizing that we had some similarities and trying to set us up and that whole thing. Yeah, and then when it came down to it, you know, we had a lot of similarities. In our first date, we actually went to. So I was in my strength career. I was training in my strongman career. So I had this set of steps that I ran every Thursday. And it was just something I did every Thursday. It was part of my training regime. And so we went and ran these steps together the very first time. That was our first date, you know. And yeah, so it was a great way for us to get to know each other. You know, we're both into, you know,
that's key,
difficult type physical fitness. So it was something that we both really enjoyed. And we got to know each other really well. And plus, when you work out really hard with somebody, there's a bonding effect. And as she said, I'll try to put in her words in the beginning, you know, she was like, you know, this, because she really digs intellect, you know. And so she was thinking, oh, this guy will be kind of fun for a while is what she was thinking. but then when we've talked a little bit, she was like, wow, there's so much more. And then what she says was, by the time we got to the steps, she knew that I was the one.
Oh, wow. That was quick, though.
Yeah.
That didn't take long.
She makes a joke. She says she looks up like a god and says, are you kidding me?
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, but with, you know, since we're talking about her, I need to be very, very clear. Without her behind me, what I was doing, this story would have been very different, because, you know, she was the one holding down the fort, you know, when I was, you know, doing what I was doing. You know, she was taking care of it. She was the one doing all the hard work that nobody could see, you know.
So you guys have been together for many years?
Oh, 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you have some good wisdom, relationship advice. If we were to wrap it up with some relationship advice, what would that be?
Well, that's a good one. You know, the funny part about that is that a relationship in terms of, I guess, how would I try to sum this up? I would try to sum it up with, when you work on yourself with an individual, because I work on myself, she works on herself, right? We work on ourselves. We realize how important it is that we're improving. And when I see the reality that I see, you know, it allows me to be in that frame of mind, in that winning mindset, that higher vibration, that makes it very easy for her to be around. You know, excuse my language, I was all fucked up all the time. Is that going to be very conducive? No, that's going to be terrible. It's going to create a lot of stress. So I think the relationship advice that I have is that people or couples, they need to invest in themselves as individuals so that they can be happy individually.
I like that.
Because if they're not happy individually and they're looking for happiness in their mate, it's never going to happen. You have to be happy with you. And when you're happy with you, I'm happy with me, she's happy with her, then together there's very little friction.
Because we see things the way we are, not the way they are.
Yeah, and it's like it's again, if let's just say that you have one person who's, and unfortunately this sometimes happens, like especially when people come to me, I get them working, making progress, and they start to see their reality differently. They start to vibrate higher. They become a happier person. They start to not see the problems. The people that bitch and moan start drifting away, right? Well, they become, I call it like they're at a higher level of consciousness as a person, right? If the mate, the wife, because I primarily always work with the male, if the wife is not coming along in her own journey to some extent, they become very different people. And that can create friction in the relationship. So I think the key is that both parties need to realize that working on yourself and creating your own individual happiness is really, really important for the relationship. Because if you're unhappy as a person, it's going to be really difficult to be happy in a relationship.
It is so true.
Yeah.
Even small stuff like educational, like say one of them is improving their education, the other one is not. Even small things.
Yeah,
like
100%. And I think when it comes down to it, if you have a person who is constantly furthering their journey of life in a constructive way, and another person who's not, those kind of lives are drifting apart. Versus when you have, like you said, one person is maybe it's education, maybe it's whatever it is. If people are developing themselves, maybe not exactly the same, but they're both improving, that's an environment that, that they're both going to mesh well with. But there's that one person who decides that they've defeated, they've stopped improving. And then the other person is improving, they grow apart.
Yeah. Wow, it is true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
But I think to sum it up, the relationship advice that I would give is that it's something that we work on ourselves. It's literally we work hard on our individual happiness first. Because if we're happy, then together we got two happy people that are together, and our relationship is just that much better.
It's amazing. Thank you so much. And I am so grateful to have you on this podcast. And I hope we'll have another episode.
Absolutely. I'll be honest, I don't know that I've ever been on a podcast only once. There's always a part two.
Perfect.
Yeah, sometimes even a part three, so we can totally.
So I would keep, because I actually haven't even touched it. Touched half of this.
You know how common that is, where you finish a podcast, they're like, I've got these 2 sheets of paper, all these questions, and all I did was ask the first one, and it's
amazing. That means you guys are going to see more of Jon on my podcast. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, you guys. And
it was a lot of fun.
Yes, I'm so grateful and can't wait to see you guys again.
Thank you.
And next time, hopefully we'll have your wife.
She's absolutely awesome. Absolutely, she would love to join the party.
Talk just as much as he can.
Oh, well, we'll make time. We'll make it.
Absolutely.
We'll actually organize it so she can have it.
Yeah, no, and it's I think that's actually really helpful to see, husband and wife dynamic.
I would love that. Yeah.
I mean,
a couple like you guys, so vibrant and.
Yeah, well, it's helpful. I mean, there are always, we see people and we learn things from them. Mm-hmm. And I think that if somehow, some way, someone could look at us and learn something about their relationship, that would be a total win.
And I'm sure they would. Yes. Nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Had such a wonderful time.
So happy to hear that. Me too. Thank you, guys.